Driven, RE/MAX Hallmark's real estate show, with your hosts, Johnder, Perez, and Dan Salhany.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Driven Real Estate Show by RE/MAX Hallmark. We are your hosts, Johnder, Perez, and
Dan Salhany. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. And we have the wonderful Ken McLachlan with us today. So we want to just a quick shout out to Ken, the owner of RE/MAX Hallmark, the guy that started it all. And we just want to say thank you. We're you're so gracious to give us some time, Ken, and we know that you're always great for that. Anybody picks up the phone or reaches out at any time, you're totally open to having a conversation with them. So in saying that, today's conversation with Ken is going to be a little bit unorthodox from our normal Driven show, okay? And the idea behind it is really going to be focused around mindset, because Ken, we had some open dialogue about his journey as a realtor, as a dad, as a father and a husband, and so forth, and how over the last 40 years of this journey, he's been able to essentially continue to grow, and believe it or not, he's actually human, and we're gonna talk about some of the challenges as well and how he's overcome those obstacles. So, Johnder, go ahead.
absolutely. So, Ken, this sort of idea of having you here, first of all, it's much of an honor to have you. You started a podcast. In fact, over the years, you've had blogs, podcasts. You've been very much engaged in reaching out and touching people's lives. And so one of the recent episodes on your podcast, which we're going to promote today, of course, you had an interview with Ken Shepard. And it was very interesting, I found personally, because you shared the journey of RE/MAX Hallmark before today, right? Many years ago, 1980s, you started out. So we wanted to get an idea, in terms of your journey, like how you got started, how you got involved with RE/MAX Hallmark, and then over the past, well over 40 years, you've seen challenges, you've seen pandemics, you've seen market changes and various things, and yet here you are today, leading each and every single one of us with such inspiration and motivation. So let's start differently today, and let's rewind. Let's start with you, Ken. Back when you first started in the real estate industry, and then how you got involved with RE/MAX Hallmark. Can you share a little bit of that story?
Yeah, I can do that. And you guys are great. I love your voices. It's really, you guys actually know what you're doing, way ahead of what I do in my podcast. So congratulations for doing this, and thanks for the invite to be here. It means a lot to me. Hopefully I have something that can impact some people, today and going forward. But I came into RE/MAX, or I started real estate in 1979. An independent company in Toronto. And then I was fortunate enough to be raised in, I always tell people I was raised at the center of the universe, which is Red Deer, Alberta. Like you could always get anywhere in the world from Red Deer. And I did, so that's where I started. I came to Toronto in 78, 79. I started real estate and I didn't know anybody at all, which was a real blessing for me because I had to get out there and produce, and I had enough money to last me 3 months. And so I started working, and I eventually, in 1986, I joined RE/MAX Hallmark. We had 53 agents at the time. And I wasn't there at the very, very beginning. Kent Shepard, who I did interview in my podcast, was there when there were 16 people. And Shep was really, really instrumental in putting in the 80s and the early 90s, I guess, of putting the foundation of being a company of abundance, being a company of, he really taught me the foundations of how to be in this business because I was so naive around it. He gave me confidence, and he was bigger than life, and he still is. So that was my mentor at the time. And I always thought that I have a philosophy of, and it's been tough. I don't know if anybody was around during the 90s. But the recession was tough. It hurt a lot of people. It was plugging through it. The 80s recession, I think there's 3 recessions I've been through each time. And plus SARS, plus 9/11, plus now we got this pandemic. And so, you always end up thinking of what have I learned to get me through this, and what experiences do I have to help other people? So it's always been about that for me. Somebody asked me the other day, did you plan this? Did you plan on developing or helping develop a company with Deborah, Steve, and all the leadership group that we have, Barb and Johnder and Dan here? No, I didn't. I didn't sit down and architect this thing, and nobody did. We just knew from the very beginning, and we learned this as we went along, not just from the beginning, but learning from the mistakes we made and the problems we had, and it was difficult. That if we just did the best we could, things would turn out. We didn't know how they would turn out or what they did, and so we kind of started focusing more on being real to who we are as a person and as a business, reflecting that. Because I used to always tell people, and I still do, that I actually get paid for being myself, and that's pretty good. It's a cool job when you can get paid for being yourself out there. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to put on a different hat when you go to work. And so there was no separation from the personality that I brought to the table. If you talk to me alone, this is what it is. There's no other story around it. So that's kind of cool that we actually in our business to do that. So I really spent a lot of time trying to get out of my way. And that was probably the biggest lesson I learned early, was to figure out how to get the hell out of my way and to get things that were invented in my head to really work around that and be a cause of making good things happen. So I never have been really good at the technical stuff, the systems. If you taught me to scripting and things like that, I was never good at that stuff. I was terrible at it. I couldn't remember, but I was always very good at thinking on my feet and really not panicking and not getting overworked and over excited about things. So I was really good at not reacting, and I taught myself as I went along to not to react as quickly as I used to react. So I learned all these lessons going through, and some of them were tough. Some of them were tougher than others. So there's a lot of different stories that I taught me these lessons, and there were times that it was difficult. So I don't know who that was. So that's really the background with Kent and the starting of the whole thing, the company.
So it's interesting. You actually answered one of the questions I was going to bring up with, and it's just revolves around limiting beliefs, right? I think that's one of the biggest things that that's the biggest obstacle between average and brilliance, right? Maybe Ken, talk, if you don't mind, if you could talk to us about, what are the, one thing that you said is that you're not as reactive, or you don't respond instantly to circumstances, because we're all going to face circumstances, right? In this business. So how do you shift your mindset and get yourself into that place where you're able to step back? And then what do you think about, how do you process?
Yeah, I think for me, and I always had this belief in place that there's a stimulus and there's a response. That there's a stimulation that somebody will say something to you, or somebody, whatever it is, and you're going to respond to it. Well, for me, it always has been, there's the most important part of that is the in-between part, which is the pause. So I'm really, even if it's just one beat or two beats, to pause rather than reacting. So I've really, and that's not easy to do. You have to learn and be patient and understand what you're doing. And so I always I taught myself to, as an example, if one of your clients would phone me to complain, and I get that from time to time. And one of the things that I was taught, and I use a lot, is I always repeat what they said to me. So that repeating what they said to me does two things. It helps me to pause rather than responding like you're an asshole or you're a bad person. I shouldn't say it that way, but
beep, beep. That's okay. We get the beeper.
But it's rather than responding, that's a reaction. And anytime you're reacting, I could get mad, I could get emotional, I could be whatever it is. So by repeating what people are saying, I'd say, well, what you're really saying, Dan, is A, B, C, D. And that does two things. It lets me pause. And the other thing it helps me to do is it helps the people that I'm talking to understand that I'm actually understanding them and listening to them. And that to me is critically important, that people are aware that I'm listening to what they're saying. And so I taught myself to listen every time there's a conversation going on, is more often than not, I'll repeat it. So what you're saying is this here. I don't frame it as glitchy or whatever. It's just that I think I understand what you're saying or whatever it is. I want them to know that I really am present for them, and that based on what they're saying, what would you like me to do? That type of thing. So I think that's a trait that I learned how to be with people, to understand people. I learned that at an early age to be present with them. And I got better at it, and I continually get better at it because I really care about it. I really care to understand people. I care to be with people, but I wasn't really good at scripting, systems, that kind of stuff in the business. I understood the business. I really knew it really, really well. I would be this, if business was a baseball player, I'd be like a 250 hitter, a 270 hitter. Okay, but I'd be a hell of a coach. I'd be a hell of a manager or an owner of it. But I knew the stuff. I knew what to do. I was a really good salesperson. I was the best at the company I worked at, and at Remax at one time too. But I was better at doing this and impacting people. So
I love your response. And just before Jonder's next question, when you said, when you reaffirmed with the person that's got the objection or the issue, and then you asked them the question, what would you like me to do? As opposed to you going into the automatic mode of, I have to fix this, I have to fix that. It sounds like you drilled right down to, okay, what's going to satisfy you in a solution?
And there's often they would say to me, well, I want you to fire that guy or woman. And I say, well, I'm not going to do that. What else would you like me to do? And because it's typically, my experience has been an overreaction or a misunderstanding. It's usually a communication problem with a lot of things. So it's just an understanding, talking to people, understanding that and not overreacting. But listen, I'm not perfect at it. And there's times that if somebody, there's a button that people can push in me if they're attacking one of my agents inappropriately. Okay, if they're accusing somebody from doing something that isn't true or it's bullying. I had somebody that was bullying an agent yesterday, and I got involved with it, and I was furious with them because you can't do that in my book. So there are buttons that push me that I don't pause as much as I should because it's not appropriate to be bullied, and so I'll fire back at that. But most times I'm very clear on what I want to do on things.
And Ken, you touched on quite a number of things that are very profound, because a lot of us here as real estate agents, real estate professionals, part of Hallmark, and of course some of our friends from other brokerages, it's very important, of course, that we know who we are as a person, know our individual businesses, know our strengths, admit our weaknesses. And yet that's a lifelong journey for many of us. So you having had this, decades and decades upon experience in terms of developing yourself and overcoming these challenges, how did you go through that discovery process to say, you know what, these are my core values, these are my beliefs, and this is what I love to do, which is,
there was a point that I think in my third or fourth year in the business, I was going to get out. I remember I write about it, that I was sitting in my office at Terry Martel at the time, and I was looking through the want ads. That's when an interest rates were 21%. When it was, I used to, prior to that boom in 80, 81, I was selling everything. I was new in the business, and I used to have one listing and one sale. And then it became, you had to have 10 listings to get one sale. And it was tough. It was a really difficult business to be in. And I was frustrated. I wasn't doing the work. I wasn't getting the results. I was just saying, I asked myself, what the hell could I do? I mean, I'm not trained to do anything else. I'm 35, 34 years old or whatever it is. And I don't have I never finished university. The only thing I did finish was my real estate course. And I was, thought I was fairly good at that, but I was really at a loss. And I remember this guy saying to me that worked there that never talked to anybody. He said, what are you doing? And I says, I'm looking at the want ads. He says, why are you doing that? He says, well, I'm just at wit's end. I can't do it anymore. And he says, let's go for a beer. And in those days I drank. And we had a beer, and he says, you're doing it all wrong. He says, you're focusing on the results rather than your actions. He says, if you just focus on the actions you're doing every day that keep you focused on doing the best you can. And some days are better than other days. You're not the best you can every day, but do the best you can for today. And if you do that, the results will follow, rather than focusing on getting all emotionally tied to, did I get this deal? Did I get that deal? Did I get 10 deals? Did I get 5 deals? I stopped doing that. I started focusing on just the only thing I could control. I couldn't control interest rates. I couldn't control the market. I couldn't control if buyers or sellers would buy a house. I could control what I did every day. And so I switched immediately to just focusing on my actions. And it was all like a light bulb went off. It was amazing the difference it made in my life. And that was the beginning of my career. My real career in real estate was I shifted what I was doing to being concerned about, caring about, and involved with my actions only, rather than the actions of other people, the actions of what the results of other people, the results that were going to happen, because I couldn't control that. So once I did that, all of a sudden there was a release. I started being really good at what I did, because I just every day I went to work and I controlled what I could control. So that was a major shift in my life, having that the privilege that this gentleman did for me, to take me away to have a beer with me, to tell me the secret of his success for me at that very moment, that it made a difference to me. I don't know what would have happened. It might have come to me 2, 3, 4 years later. I might have got out of the business. I don't know if I didn't pick up those want ads. But he gave me the privilege of teaching me how to do it, and I forever was grateful. I told him, many, many years ago, the difference he made in my life. And unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, but he was a major player in my life, my business life at the time.
So incredible that his philosophy and his teachings towards you, Ken, are very much in alignment with, I'd say, 100% of the mindset messages that we get from all these different coaches that people pay tons and tons of money for, from Tony Robbins all the way down the line. And it's all about, essentially, it's about taking action and just controlling what you can control. And so tell us about, Ken, things that have been challenges for you, because as realtors, right, you're running a company, but essentially all of you that are on this call are essentially running a company, right? It's on a different scale. So tell us about that aspect of it. I'm sorry, I'm just admitting somebody here. For you, as to on a grand scale, how do you handle that day to day? You got so many decisions to make.
I think we all do. I mean, that's part of again, that what I just talked about was a major part, or is a major part of how I do my life and my business, is by getting everything else out of the way as much as I can, the emotion, the drama, all that other stuff, and just living within things that I can actually control for myself. That why worry about an outcome that I can't make a difference with? I just control my actions only, and how I am being in life, and that's usually turns out pretty good. And I give myself forgiveness for not being the best I can today, because some days I just don't feel like working out today. I'm tired. I do that. So I really am realistic with that. I don't like a lot of drama in my life. This business that we're in, we have the privilege of helping a lot of people buy and sell real estate. Get the hell out of the way. Get out of the way of helping them. Make them the experience the best you can for them. Be of service to them. Be the best you can in helping them do it. Don't make it about you. And I feel sometimes we as real estate agents get in that way. It's more about us than it is about them. So I see that a bit, and I have to counsel people to really take themselves out of the equation a lot. Ego is a big part of it. We all have egos, healthy egos, and it's good to have that. But when it tilts a little too far at the other side, it's something that we have to work on a bit. So that's big. Getting out of the way, not only in yourself, for yourself, but for other people as well, is really, this is not, this is an incredible journey we're on. I don't want to be too philosophical about this, but that's who I am, I guess. This is an incredible journey. We're blessed to be living in this country and the cities we live in and doing what we do and this markets we play in and all that stuff. It's a blessing for us to do that. And listen, don't screw it up. Enjoy it and help people. If you help enough people get what they want, you get everything you want. That's Zig Ziglar. That's classic. I learned in the 70s. Just help enough people get what they want, you get what you want in your life, and it's really that simple. And as far as the systems, and then I stated before that I don't know the systems that well, but I have a lot of great people in my life that do know the systems, technology that do know, and you guys are sitting here. I am able to find those people in my life that make me look better, which is really cool. It's a blessing.
So Kenny, what's really awesome is we get to watch the screen, which is great with this format and so forth. And I see a young gentleman named Leonard Huffman that's on this call. And I've known Len for 30 some odd years. And I think Len's been a realtor for 40 some odd years, if I'm not mistaken. And as you're talking, I see Len doing this like totally just resonating. And am I right to that, Lenny? Yeah, just there it is again, So very powerful suggestions and very powerful mindset. Ken, thank you for sharing that part with us.
Yeah, it's I mean that's to me is the I think I really get a lot of experience talking to people in this business and how they are and how they develop the business and how they do things. And the blessing I have is that I get to meet and be with so many different people and to learn so much from them and to be impacted by them. And I've been in this business 41 years and I'm still learning this stuff, and it's amazing and it's a lot of fun.
And as you said, Ken, it's a journey and quite a fantastic journey it's been.
Yeah, it's
the other day when we were talking about getting ready for our interview, I had asked you a question, and one of the questions was, did you see Hallmark back when you were starting to get involved with RE/MAX marketing? Did you see it as something that it would be today? Like, for example, at 1,700 more or less agents, 26 offices throughout Ontario, and continuously growing. Was that what you saw back then, or was your approach to it different? Because in as much as every single one of us are being a business, maybe we have that vision, but as you said earlier, it's about the action. What did you see, or what did you envision back when you got started with Hallmark?
I knew, and I don't know how I knew, but I knew from a very young age, and I don't know how young, but probably in my early teens, that I wouldn't fail. That I don't know how or why, and it wasn't an arrogance thing. It was clear to me that I would, whatever I did in my life, that I wouldn't fail at. I knew that I would have failures. I knew that I would have obstacles. I knew that shit would come up, pardon me, but I knew that no matter what I did in my life, I would be successful in the sense that I would leave a legacy and I would have an impact on people. I'm not talking about the money part. And so I learned that probably from my mother and my aunts and my grandmother, mostly, maybe my father as well, and certainly more from people I know in my later life. But I knew that was the confidence I had about myself, that no matter what happened to me in my life, I could handle it, and I will handle it, and it wasn't going to do me in. It wasn't going to have a problem.
So interesting. No, that's okay. Just reflecting on our experience as a leadership team, guys, which in turn transcends down to the things that we do for you guys and how we engage with you and so forth. And I remember, the pandemic was a real eye opener, right? March of last year, when all of this came about. I think our brokerage always had some really great flow. We had great market share. We had a good presence, nice leadership, good locations and stuff like that. But I got to tell you guys that are on this call, and for those of you that are listening a little bit later on, I remember when the fan was being hit by what with this situation, and we collectively got together as a leadership team on a call, and Ken basically stood up and said, okay, you know what? This is where our people need us more than ever. And, we're not going to back down to this. We're going to use every resource that we possibly have to continue. We were blessed that the government granted us as an essential service. and that you guys could continue making a living. And you know, thankfully for many of you, it's been a prosperous 12 months where you've continued to be able to grow your businesses and so forth. But I'm just reflecting personally right now as to the attitude that was behind that. So do you want to just share with us?
It was scary as hell. I remember the toughest day, and you were there with me, Dan. Deborah,
I was.
You and I in Ottawa. And I came into Ottawa, Deborah and I came into Ottawa, and we had to lay off staff. And I got teary-eyed. I started crying because I've never wanted to do that. And we didn't know at that time what was happening in this market, this pandemic. And that was not, and I knew they had families, and I was terrible. I was just devastated. But we had to work with them and bring this thing back. And we collected our breath. I think it took us about a week because we'd never been through a pandemic before. I've been through a lot of stuff, but not a pandemic. So we just kind of broadside us. And so we had to figure out what to do. And we, like Dan said, we got collectively together. And we said, this is what we're called to do in life. And this is, I'll tell you, many don't know this, but all through this time, all the Jonders and the Dans cut their salaries in half. We all did. And that's how committed they were to making sure we did what we did for a company, because we didn't know if this would be 6 months, a year, or whatever it was. And we had to do it, and they did. And we straightened that out later on. But that was, for them to jump up and rise up for that was amazing. And so we kind of really, my biggest fear was making sure that people were looked after, that we were there for as many people all the time as we could. They were more important, the staff, the agents, and the clients. And so we collectively did it. And I'm proud of the team. And listen, I didn't do it. Steve Tribisi, Dan, Johnder, everybody else, the administration staff was incredible. So we were hit pretty hard. We assessed it really quickly. And because of our experience, we went into it. Now, we didn't have any debt. We didn't have anything else. We don't carry debt. So we were prepared to do it. But it was an interesting time, that first month.
I think the message behind that, though, Ken, and what, just reflecting, and for you guys as realtors, it's that same mindset of, making it about the people, right? And making it about the people that are really important to you. And I know in my meetings and Jonder's meetings and Sherry and Ansel, we've talked about community, regardless of what the outcome is, regardless of what the benefit is for you guys, right? It's just making it work and being present in community and so forth. And for Ken and for the ownership group, it was about, okay, you know what? We've had a bad week. I still remember. And it was just like, okay, we're back on the saddle here. We've been able to step back and
figured it out. Yeah, pretty quick. Yeah, and it was they always talk about the when you're in a crisis. I believe this. Who I am in a crisis is who I really am in life. So when you look at anybody can say that they would jump in the water to rescue somebody, but what do they do when that people need to be rescued? And so I want to be judged as how I am in a crisis, not how I am in a perfect world. And I'm getting a little dramatic about it, of course, but I think when the chips are down, that's when we have to step up. And we did that. When I say we, I say the agents did that for the clients, the staff did it. Our staff in Ottawa, as an example, were incredible. I remember visiting them, and we had two people, doing that. Judy and Mary Helen. I was thinking of Mary Jane. And I was just looking at them. I said to Judy, who did the deals, I said, Judy, I'm really concerned. You should go home. And she says, I have to be here to do payroll. If I don't do payroll, they won't get it. They won't get paid. And I can't do that. So I thought, wow, I couldn't believe it. That's how committed they were. And those were really difficult times. But you know what? We got through. I don't want to dwell too much on that.
Well, I think it transcends from the top, though, and works its way all the way down. And for the agents that are out there that are either just starting out or building your businesses or that have been in business for a period of time, I think it's very important to start, if you can get your mind into that environment. Essentially, the agents are our clients, right? And for you guys,
they're our clients, and it'd be a service to them. Do whatever your service is and find out what you're selling. Find out who you are. I mean, I think the other thing that I didn't talk about yet is that I figured out pretty quickly that I couldn't be all things to all people, and that I had to know what was my biggest strength that I was selling. And you have to do that as a realtor. What's your unique value? What you are, and focus on that unique value for your clients and be of service to them that way is really important to me. And it's a business as well. Listen, we're not for everybody. Remax Hallmark, I get that, but we're really clear of who we are for and what we're doing, and building it that way. So,
and that's an interesting point, because as Hallmark has grown, and ever since the beginning, there's this thing called culture, and there's this thing called attracting the right people with the like mindset, and it creates that environment that we've all witnessed. And one of the things with companies as they grow large is they tend to lose that. But here
yeah.
at Remax Hallmark, it's something that, again, from the leadership down, it's something that has continued to be strong. So Ken, in terms of, like, you've talked a lot about knowing what your strengths are, knowing what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it, being involved in the community, having that people focused, that's people-centric focus, and serving people, and that's what creates culture. Was this an intentional thing? Like, for example, is it on some document somewhere that Hallmark is this kind of a company, or does that happen organically? And the reason I'm asking that is every single one of us that's watching this live now, or will watch it when they see the recording, we're all building this business. And in many ways, business growth is organic, but it seems like, when you build a business and it seems like all barriers are removed, it makes it sort of look easy, but Remax Hallmark's growth was by far not easy. And same with all of our realtors here today. It's how did that culture happen, and how do you give somebody that formula? Here's how you build your business based on who you are, what your beliefs are, and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I don't think you can script it. I really don't think you can. I mean, some people can. My personality, who I am in life, I didn't write down. Like, a lot of people are very successful, 10-year goals, 5-year goals, and I'm encouraging people to do that. That just wasn't something that I really relied on. Now, there's people in my life that do that, okay, but I wasn't that person to, this is my 5-year goal, this is my 10-year. I was a macro type of thinker that really, I know I'm not going to fail. I know that if I do the best I can, I learn more about my craft, I learn more about people, I learn more about the business, and I'm present and I'm serving people, I'm going to be successful. How do I define success? Interacting with people, being of service to them, and doing the best I can, and feeding my family at the same time. So listen, there were times that when we were doing this, 15 years of this business, we were so broke. I'm telling you, we took nothing from it. And from probably till we started making a reasonably, I mean, you'd be surprised if I told you how much we make salaries, but we really didn't make 15 years. If somebody would have said to me, it's going to take you 15 years and you were a great agent, number one, and then all of a sudden, I'm not crying a river now, but it was tough. But we knew that if we worked hard, we did it, we focused on it, it would happen. So I am that kind of person with it. I would encourage people to, if they're looking at how to develop their businesses, really be true to they actually do their very best every day that they can do. They get out of their way, and they be humble about it, and they just be of service to people. I mean, it's really a cliche, be of service to people, but it really is important to be, take that extra step for people. Take that extra step to help them, to make problem solver for them, to do things and be better at what your work is. I was very good. I knew that I wasn't good at everything, but I wanted to be good at one thing. So I became, in those days when interest rates were 21%, I became a mortgage expert. I knew that was a part of the business that was really important to people. So I learned everything I could about mortgages. I told people that I was an expert. And guess what? They thought I was an expert, and I was tremendous at it. So I learned my craft every year, better and better and better. I was present for people. I knew it. And I would just encourage everybody that's in their business now to really be focused on doing the best they can every day. And when you're not working that day, be the best you can as a friend, as a father, as a partner, as whatever it is. You know, it's really, there's no magic to it. You know, I don't.
Very humanistic approach, Ken. We
That's
appreciate
me.
that. We appreciate
Yeah.
that about you.
I'm not really this red as the light, okay?
Yeah, you know,
Before we go into,
yes, go ahead, John.
go ahead. No, it's okay.
Oh, please.
Okay, before we go into Q&A, because we want to give everybody a chance, of course, to ask their questions. You can, again, you've seen a lot. It's been a fantastic journey. The pandemic that we faced in the past year has brought forth a lot of challenges. And for those watching us here and for those watching us when they see this later on, it's not easy. It hasn't been easy for everybody in the past year for their journey. So you've given us so much advice and so much wisdom. What would be your advice to everybody listening, to everybody watching, in terms of, here's where we are today. What do I do? Like, how do I get through this? How do I overcome it? How do I continue maintaining that mindset so that I'm continuously
I think there's I think it's important to I have this saying that and it might seem weird, but now that I've attracted this into my life, what am I going to do about it? So it doesn't mean that I caused something to happen, but it's here. So I got to be real about it. This pandemic is here. This market is buoyant, is here. What adjustments do I have to do to make it work for me, for my clients, for my family? So I'm really present in what's going on and what's consistent in the marketplace now and what's happening. So I think be real about it. Look at the market as for what it is, not what you want it to be like, and adjust accordingly. And keep adjusting all the time, and keep adjusting and talking to people and doing your best you can with it. And if you show up every day with that mindset and that ability to grow each week, each month, or whatever it is, and learning new skills, like every year, I would take on what's called one new major capability. So I looked at myself as trying to fold things into who I am, and it didn't have to be in business. One year I wanted to learn how to be a better public speaker. So I didn't succeed, by the way, but I did take courses on how to be a better speaker because I was scared. I had to get up in front of everybody to speak all the time, and I didn't know how to do it. So I had to learn how to I took course because I wanted to be a better speaker. So that was my capability this year, years ago, was I took Dale Carnegie. I hired a coach. I did all this stuff. So he taught me how to get in front of people and how to be more comfortable with it. Another year, I wanted to learn another capability was I wanted to relax more. So I took transcendental meditation. So I kept on learning things to help me grow as a person. It wasn't always real estate related, but it was just about the overall stuff like that. And I encourage you to be as balanced as you can, because I get a lot of people approaching me, how can I be more balanced in life? And well, you have to want to be more balanced. You can create the balance in your life if you really try, if you really say no to things. But there's some agents that can't resist picking up the phone no matter who phones you. And you have to, if you want balance in your life, you can't do that. You have to really guard the time you're with your family, guard the time you're working, whatever. So be more accountable to yourself.
Well, lots of really great experiences for us as a leadership team that get to work closely with you, Ken. And I know, for example, for myself, I go back a couple of years ago. I'm a very reactive person, and I've learned to harness that for sure, and have definitely seen my relationships. And Len Huffman has got a big smile on his face again. Len's my coach here at our golf tournament, so he gets it. But like I've learned the benefits. That the benefits of being able to harness that responsive responsive reaction so quickly, and also to be able to associate certain times for certain aspects in your life to create that balance, and how it comes full circle. It actually, amazingly enough, how much it benefits you in your business. Like it just does. I don't know, what the miracle is about it, but it just seems to impact everything in such a positive way. So really appreciate that. What we'd like to do is open up the opportunity to the people that are on this call. Unfortunately, we can't ask those that are streaming, But does anybody have any questions for Ken? You've got him here. Don't be shy. This is a great opportunity for you to express any questions or comments that you'd like to make about our session.
Well, for those streaming, you can type it into the comments.
Johnder will watch that.
Eric Scoggins asked, Ken, who did your makeup? From Eric.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually.
I can't hear you. You broke up. What?
Oh, we broke up. Okay.
Who did what?
From the feed, Eric Scoggins asking.
I didn't hear it.
Eric Scoggins asking, who did your makeup today?
It's breaking up.
Okay, so Kenny, can you hear me okay?
His mother.
Ansel's got a great question
Yes.
here. Ansel's got a great question. What is your biggest regret, if there is one, about this journey that you've been on for the last 40 years, Ken?
Nothing. Absolutely turned out exactly how it should. Nothing.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
I don't have any regrets. I don't think regrets. No, nothing. I like it. I like the journey. It's still going on. It's great.
You know what?
The failures have really helped me be a better person. Go ahead.
I just love that part about you, Ken. You know what? Ken just said, the journey is still going on. And I think that's the really cool part about being around you and being involved in a company with you and so forth, that regardless of your successes and where you're at in your career, it kind of stems back to a year ago, because you could have just went, oh, the heck with this, and your mindset was completely the reverse as to, hey, how can we make it better? How do we make sure our agents are armed, our clients are being treated well, our staff is being so forth. And you know what, like even to this day, that's like a priority for yourself and for Deb and for Steve. And I think it resonates all the way down the line. So we hope that, these messages for you guys, whether you've been in the business for a long time or whether you're newer to the business, you'll realize the importance of that mindset when it comes down to dealing with your day-to-day consumers, dealing with community, dealing with all that stuff. I mean, Ken, this is a testimonial to having that mindset and how it will at some point, develop into whatever it's supposed to develop into. But obviously for you, it's been a very successful thing.
Yeah. There was a question David had, I think.
I see that there. Yeah. What's your advice to those who are feeling down from the relentless onslaught of COVID, Kenny?
It's real. I mean, this is real, man. It's emotionally. I wrote something the other day about it. That's be aware of the emotional onslaught of this. It's terrible, and be there for other people, and give yourself some grace around it. Acknowledge it. You know what? It's not every day is perfect. Not every day is going to be perfect. This is it really is a tough thing, COVID. And it's forever and ever and ever and drawing on. And you know what? I know that it's not going to get us. I know that we're going to rise above it. I know that we're going to be okay. And I'm going to do the best I can to be safe, to keep people in my life safe, and your peers and your clients and your staff safe. So if you do all that stuff, but give yourself some grace around it. Acknowledge that it's a tough thing. And quit trying to be so perfect about it. It's not perfect. It's tough, and it's okay. We're going to be all right with it.
Yeah. And if you're having a tough time with regards to it, you know what? Reach out to whoever, any of us.
Yeah. Reach out. And it's not easy. It's the hardest thing we've ever gone through as my life anyway, as a crisis has been this. And it's not one facet. It's physical, it's emotional, it's community, it's country, it's world, it's everything. But that's okay. We're okay. We'll get through it.
Amazing. And Hamid is commented on the Facebook stream. Hallmark is the best brokerage, and the reason it's the best because it is surrounded by the great leaders in the industry. So again, so it's
very
all
kind
attributed to the leadership team. Thank you,
Yeah.
Andy.
I think
Any
it's
oth-
best. I think it's best because of the great agents we have, and the
Oh, we got Ken's frozen here. Johnder, is he frozen on your end as well?
Yeah, we'll give it a few moments. I think we had the same issue a bit earlier.
Okay.
So if anybody's here has any questions, now is the time to ask him. I will just wait for him for the internet to come back on. Hope it's not a Rogers issue again.
Oh, Rogers again. Must be Rogers again. You know, I will say on behalf of, how much your role within Hallmark has changed and grown from how you wanted to grow compared to how you needed to adapt based on outside influences of the marketplace. Well, that's very interesting. Hopefully I think we just lost him.
I'm gonna dial him up on the mobile, so we'll see if he can join at least by audio.
I'm coming.
Okay, well, you're on audio, so if you want, we can wait for you to come back on, or you
I'm
can stick
trying
on.
to. My internet is. I think I'll be there in a minute.
Okay.
That's what happens when you're out in the county, folks.
Yeah, I'm in the country right now, so it's. You know what? I should be okay though soon. I hope.
Do you want to ask him the question, Johnder?
We have you on audio, Ken. So while we wait, Cheryl had a question. How much of your role within Hallmark has changed and grown from how you wanted to grow compared to how you needed to adapt based on the outside influence?
That's a great question. I was initially, or a long time ago, I was the worst delegator in the world. I was terrible. Nobody could do it better than me. I was the guy that answered the phones better, shoveled the walk better, turn the lights on better, all that stuff. And so I had to learn really quickly how to delegate. And that was the turning point when I figured out that I had other people in my life were much better at doing things than I was. So my role changed as I found great people. Like, listen, Steve Trevizy is the CEO of the company, and he was a major part of us getting through this pandemic. And I couldn't have done it. I wasn't good at it. That wasn't the best role for me. My role was being the big macro looking, things like that. So my role has changed more and more as I've come through, and I've had these great people in my life, and I don't do a lot of the stuff I did years before, but it's always changing.
Absolutely. And it's realizing or learning to adapt and learning to grow. And as Ken said, it's knowing what your strength is and what you're good at, and leaving everything else to other people. And that's why, as anybody listening
absolutely.
to this.
And I talk to agents all the time, and spend the quality time of your working day, the hours and time you're working, is doing stuff that's going to fulfill you, number one, that you enjoy doing, number two, and then it's going to build your business. A combination of those three things. So as soon as you can, get someone in your life that can do the stuff that really isn't building your business, the administration work, the stuff that supports your business, that builds it. So I really, when we really started growing, is when I discovered that I could do things that have other people do stuff better than I could.
Yeah, and that's a key point to remember for all of you who are listening to this and watching this, is that sometimes the roadblock in your business growth is because you're trying to do everything. Remax Hallmark, through Ken's leadership, Deborah, Steve, and the leadership team, everybody plays their role, does what they're great at, and that's what drives the growth. So we wanted Ken to as well promote your new podcast that you and so tell us a little bit about it. Yeah.
Thank you. So the podcast is really called Realty Life, and it's on Apple, Spotify, all the different places like that. And it's really, I wanted to have a podcast where I could talk to people about how they are in their life. What really inspires me is to be around people that, how do they get to be who they are in their life? I'm not, and there are people from the industry, from other walks of life, and how did they get to be who they are today? I don't want to talk about who they are today as much, but I want to, how did you get there? What was the stuff that got in your way? What was the stuff that happened in your life like that? So I get to interview people based on that. and to tell stories about people that were the biggest DJs in the world prior to being in this business. A guy, a podcast now, Lance Chilton, talks about him. He was at Much Music and City TV, and he was on Barry VR7 or VR TV up there. And what was it like? How did you become that guy that's well known on TV to become a real estate guy? What happened in your life? Why did that happen? And how was the transformation? So I get to talk to them about that stuff, and that's the kind of stuff that really interests me. How did you get to who you are today? And what were the crises that you dealt with to make that happen? And it's kind of fun that way.
That's amazing. So for those of you who listen to podcasts, you can access it through Apple, through Android. You can go to Ken's website as well, www.kenmclachlan.com.
I had to ask you if I had a website, right, Johnder?
You do have a website, believe it or not, Ken.
Yeah.
So kenmclachlan.com, and you'll be able to have a link. You'll click on the link, and it'll also bring you to the podcast. We have another question from Nim. Do you see more growth in Ottawa for Hallmark with new offices throughout the city?
Yeah, I do. I think, thanks, Nim. I do see more growth, and it's going to be based on strengthening the offices we do have in the west, central, and east areas, and the two downtown areas, and also feeder zones outside of Ottawa as well to strengthen that we're not in right now. Absolutely. Getting more west end stuff, Haven, where you are, and we all do that kind of thing. But there's no. Listen, I would never be in business if that was it. I'm here. I'm going to just exist. I'm not. This isn't about that. I'm not going to be. It wouldn't be any fun. How would you like to run your business? I know you don't do it that way, man. Just that. Okay, I got everything I need. I'm going to play it out. We don't do that. We're going to do. Keep growing, keep being engaged, and keep being the best we can at all times. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ken.
Getting back.
I think we're going to wrap things up, folks. There aren't any more questions in the chat, so we'd like to first of all thank you all for joining us, taking the time. This interview is going to be recorded. It'll be on our Driven tab, which is on the Hallmark Hub, and we really appreciate again all of you guys being here, taking the time just to hopefully get some inspiration, some nuggets from somebody that's had some great success. Somebody that's gone through, obviously lots of challenges as well, and but that's kept focused on what the end goal is, right? And has always, oh, look who's back. I think
I'm back now. Sorry.
So again, we just want us to say thank you very much, and thank you to Ken for taking the time to sit with us for the last 45 minutes to share your insight, your experiences, and there you are.
Sorry about that, guys. I am in my farm in Prince Edward County, and usually the internet's a lot better, but it's it's country. It doesn't work that well sometimes. So apologies.
All good, Ken. Well, thank you very much, Kenny. We're just wrapping up.
Yeah.
And
thank you for doing this, guys. It was just great. I enjoyed it. Listen, anybody can reach out to me anytime they want. My numbers are public and how to get me, and anything I can help with, let me know.
Amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you, everybody. We wish you a prosperous and a healthy week ahead and a healthy year ahead. So thank you for joining us and taking the time to be with us.
My pleasure, guys. Be well, everybody.
Be safe and well, everybody. Thank you so much, Ken.